Hello, everyone. Today is Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. As always, I'm your host for Collectibles and Coffee, Edward Nguyen. My beverage of choice today is water, just keeping it nice and simple. Today, we'll be looking at sealed product. This is a question that comes up a lot. It's something that we're all familiar with. Buying sealed product, and is it a sound investment? What does long-term growth look like on it? How can I protect myself? These are some questions that are frequently asked when it comes to sealed product. And today we'll be kind of going through the basics and trying to answer some of those questions. If you're a beginner, just looking to buy in and trying to figure out what sealed product is right for you in your price range, these are some of the things that we'll be covering today. So, generically speaking, sealed product are sealed booster packs, sealed booster boxes, what have you. There's a whole range of them. There's a lot of booster packs out there. There's a lot that people buy, mainly because there's just so many new sets coming out. The majority of people who buy booster products, who buy sealed product, are looking to open it. That's the nature of the business. That's how the game works. That's how new cards get introduced to the secondary market. But there are always people, various collectors, investors, what have you, that will be looking at sealed product as a way to be buying and storing for something that they will open or sell in the future when, in theory, the price goes up or nostalgia kicks in and it enables them to relive a certain point in their life. For all these reasons, there is a fairly extensive market for sealed product. A lot of people do buy into it. Again, most basically speaking, the majority of people who buy it are looking to open it. So when people open it, when people are looking at a product, right, one of the most common concepts that we look at is understanding EV, expected value. So what is expected value? How does it relate to sealed product, to booster packs, to booster boxes? Expected value is understanding the outcome of a random set of events and then being able to predict the average outcome and then how that relates to the cost and what you should be expecting to get out of it. General rule of thumb is that the set EV or the box EV will always be lower than the price of the box itself. For example, let's use a very basic example and understand how set EV works. Let's say we have a hypothetical set. There's only 2 cards in it. One of the cards is completely worthless, and one card is worth $10. So $0 and $10, those are 2 cards. You're equally likely to get them. Half your booster packs will contain your $0 card. Half your booster packs will contain your $10 card. There's 2 possible outcomes. The total value of the product is 0 plus $10. Your expected value per pack is going to be $5. In theory, if you open up 2 packs, you should open up one of each. You open up a $0 card, a $10 card. You divide that by 2. You're averaging about $5 per pack. In theory, this pack should, at break-even point, sell for $5. At $5, it's a completely, the EV is even. That means that half the time you'll get $0, half the time you'll get $10. If a store were to sell this pack for $6, they would be coming out ahead because for every 2 packs they sell, they're getting $12, 6 times 2, but the value from the packs being opened is only going to be $10. On the flip side, if a store were to sell this pack for $4, as a consumer, you should be buying every single possible pack you can at $4 because the set EV is $5. So if we look at it again, every 2 packs you open will cost you $8, and assuming equal probability of that $8 you put in, 4 times 2, you'll be opening $10 in cards. You'll open up one worthless card, one $0 card, and one $10 card. Every $8 you spend, in theory, should net you $10. That's basic. That's a very simplified example. We obviously have to account for different rarities. There are ways to calculate this, but on a very simple level, that is how EV works. That is understanding EV. And when you look at box prices, for the most part, EV is going to be a large player in understanding how a box should be priced. In theory, your box EV will always, always, always be lower than the sell price of a box. There are some corner cases, you'll always have outliers, but when people talk about EV, people are talking about how likely you are to come out ahead on opening the box, and in theory, if the math is right, it will dictate whether you should be opening the box or keeping the box sealed. One of the more recent discussions that was relatively interesting, we've had this come up several times on this episode, is understanding the box EV for double masters, for the VIP packs. It's very high variance. There's a lot of spread. Spread is looking at the lower and upper bounds of the value of a box. Variance is there's a very large leeway. The cost on a double masters VIP box, you're probably looking at $110 to $140, give or take, depending on tax and whatnot. And from the boxes I've seen open, you can open up an absolutely fantastic box. If you open up a foil Force of Will, that's towards the higher end of it. There's full mana crypt. There are some of the higher end box toppers, the full box toppers that you can open. You could easily be looking at opening up a $300 to $400 box. On the lower end, there's obviously less valuable box toppers. A lot of the foils are heavily depressed in value because there's so many of them, because foils don't have the same premium like they used to. It's very possible to only be opening up $40 to $50 inside your pack. So that's kind of how set EV works. Generically speaking, when you look at product in terms, if you're looking to open it, you want to have a pretty good understanding of the EV of a set. EV is something that varies drastically depending on the value of the cards inside the set. As cards go up and the set becomes more valuable, the individual cards become more desirable, there are points when it is beneficial for a store or an individual to be opening up the product and trying to piece out the singles as opposed to selling the product as is. You negate this. You can negate variance by opening up a lot of product. If you open up two boxes, if you only open up two boxes of VIP, for example, and you have a lousy box, you're looking at $60 box, and your average box is $120. You're breaking even. In the long term, if the set EV is correct, you will normalize your distribution, and you will, in theory, if the box EV is higher than the price of the box, you will make money long term. Generally, the market will correct itself. Once people realize this, more product gets open, more singles are hitting the market. It causes the prices of the singles to go down as there's an increase in the supply, and in turn, as the prices go down, then you'll see box EV go down, and until you reach an equilibrium point. It's a fine balance. It goes heavily into dictating what stores should do. There will generally be times when it's correct to open product. There will be generally times when it's correct to hold the product or sell the product as sealed as is. It's really, really hard to tell. But again, the general rule of thumb is that box EV will always be lower than the retail value of a box. So in terms of set EV, there's a lot of ways to calculate it. There are databases available. My go-to is mtg.donglare, DAWN, glare, glare.com. And you can look at, if you go to the top, there's a tab. I have it in front of me here. From the main page, you go to more, and then one of the top, the rightmost tab in the top left, and then you go down and set EV, and it will pull up the EV for all the sets out there. This number isn't perfect. There's always some outliers, but for the most part, you can look at the EV of a set and it'll give you a pretty good idea of if you're looking to open up boxes, you have to come to understanding that the most likely outcome for when you open up a box is that you will not break even on singles. That's the reality of it. Unless you got a killer deal, you're simply not likely to open up enough value that justifies opening up the box. If there is some emotional value to opening up a box, you're doing this for nostalgia, you're looking to draft, you're looking for a fun time with some friends or whatnot. This is something we'll look at later. By all means, open the box. But again, mathematically speaking, you will not make money opening up boxes. Stores are able to do this. Their cost of acquisition of boxes is much lower than the retail price. And for them, usually stores are capitalizing at the beginning when a set is first released, when prices are the highest. And that's when they're trying to sell their singles as quickly as possible. That's when it makes sense for them to open up product. Looking at MTG non-glare, just doing this very quickly, for the most part, you can see that a lot of boxes are substantially more expensive than the price of than the EV of the box. Even ones that are fixed, that have fixed contents. If we look at, for example, From the Vault, one of the products that they had released quite a while ago, they had set contents. Every From the Vault, in theory, should be the same. The EV on a box of, if I can use an example here, Relics. Relics is kind of an outlier. It's the most expensive one because it has the From the Vault Mox Diamond in it. Mox Diamond had recently jumped in price. Here, according to TCG Low, the EV on the box is $700.24. However, you will be hard pressed to find a box online and through a retailer, through social media or whatever, for $700. And the reason for this is because there is some value to the box being sealed. That's why we're having this discussion. That's the nature of the sealed market, is that even though the value is lower, sealed product, sealed boxes, sealed booster packs always command a huge premium because of the virtue that it's sealed. When we look at some other outliers, for example, if we look at Kaladesh, Kaladesh was the third set that had inventions. Battle for Zendikar was first, Oath of the Gatewatch was second, Kaladesh was third. Third set that had inventions, right? We're talking at something that has one. You're looking at roughly one invention every 3 boxes, so 2 per case. They're quite rare. There are some valuable ones, Soul Ring, Mana Crypt. Those are ones that are kind of towards the higher end. And obviously you have some ones that are relatively cheap. The Gear Hulks, not that much value. Regardless, they do add some EV, even though they are fairly scarce. This is something that is calculated into the outcome. If you open up enough boxes, you will see one of every masterpiece. It will require a large amount of product being open to do so, but in theory, you should open up masterpieces. You will open up a full set of masterpieces, assuming normal distribution. But the EV that's reported, there's 2 numbers. Kaladesh with inventions is $58.58, and Kaladesh without inventions is $27.10. So that's a pretty low rate. It goes to show that there's not really a lot of value inside the boxes outside of the masterpieces. The presence of the masterpieces actually almost doubles the value of a box itself. But if you look at the retail price for Kaladesh boxes, most prices probably over about $150 or so a box. Even though it's exceedingly rare that you will open one, assuming normalized distribution, you're only looking at 33% chance to open up a masterpiece per box. And even then, your average price on masterpiece is still really not that high. It's in theory, if you buy one box, you could get lucky. You could open a box that has a masterpiece, and your masterpiece could be a Soul Ring, for example, and then you'd be doing much better than what it costs you to buy the box, but statistically speaking, your box is likely to be a bust. You're not likely to make much money on the cards themselves, and without opening up Masterpiece, you're almost assuredly to lose money. Again, the scarcity of sealed product, the nature of sealed product, the fact that there is the unknown component, the fact that people like to open packs is really what drives sealed product. That's what makes it valuable. That's what makes it exciting. The allure of it is really what keeps people buying boxes. That's really the cornerstone of collecting. That's the cornerstone of sports cards. Sports cards are notorious for having very expensive booster packs. There is product that's released. It's very, very limited. It's known to be a very limited print run. This is something that happens regularly. For those people who may only be familiar with Magic and Pokemon, whenever you think a set gets sold out, it's bad. If you look at sports cards, there are sets that are intentionally printed in a very, very limited quantity, and the money cards inside you're looking at thousands of dollars for these cards. And these packs, you're looking at hundreds of dollars for packs. VIP, it's kind of an outlier for Magic. We haven't really seen a $100 booster pack sold at retail before in quite some time. VIP is really the first one that does it. We've seen them kind of push the envelope with collector boosters. VIP really was the one that topped it all, looking at $100. But in the world of sports cards, you have $100 sports cards boosters, fairly common. There are some like $500 booster packs. If you go on YouTube, there are plenty of people who are opening videos, and people go crazy over spiking a signed card, a super premium card, a very limited print run card, serial numbers, etc. And some of these cards, again, worth in the thousands. But that's kind of a different discussion. Sports cards, really its own animal. I'm not the most educated person about it. I do know the basics. I am able to scratch the surface. But there's so much out there beyond what I know that at some point I'll bring someone on that is more educated in sports cards, and they'll really give you insight if that's something you're interested in to learning more about sports cards. So back to Box EV. We talk about Box EV, so how does Box EV dictate the price of a box? So as we mentioned, boxes, the EV will always be lower than the retail price on a box. This goes for everything. This doesn't matter if the product is brand new, right off the shelf. It doesn't matter if it's 25 years old. For the most part, boxes generally fall in two categories. This is also much more prevalent with Pokemon compared to Magic. But in terms of Magic, you generally look at boxes. If the EV is low, but there's high playability, you'll have a valuable box. If the box has high EV and it's collectible, it will also be a valuable box. Naturally, most boxes will go up over time. It's a matter of how quickly it goes up. Usually when investors are looking to buy boxes and put them away and store them, it kind of comes down to what return do I get on my money? Boxes do take up a lot of space. That's something to consider. And what can I predict in terms of the market? How will the market react? What boxes should I be putting my money in? So an example of a box that has low EV, that has high playability, Kaladesh was one. People do enjoy the set. The idea of opening up a masterpiece is still highly desirable, regardless of EV. That is one case where the box price is much, much higher than the EV price. And that's a relatively recent box. Kaladesh came out in 2016. It's only 4 years old at that point. So really not out of print that long. Anyone coming in may not be super familiar with Kaladesh cards. I imagine most players who have recently entered the game of Magic probably have done so with the addition of Arena. So that's 2018. If a lot of Magic players have only played within the past 2 years, Kaladesh is already 2 years older than how long they've been playing Magic for. It's important to think about things in this context. Putting age into perspective is very important when you're looking at sealed product. It's not always rational in terms of the price. It's really hard to understand why this product that I can't really open up value from, the most valuable card is something that I can get in 1 in however many cases. It's a masterpiece, not very likely to open it, but it still commands large value. And again, age, playability, and nostalgia, these are all things that tie into it. A better example of a set that has low EV, high playability would be the original Innistrad. The original Innistrad, according to MTG Donglair, the set value is $73.43. Innistrad came out in September 30th, 2011. The box is 9 years old at this point, roughly twice as old as Kaladesh is. But sealed boxes of Kaladesh are probably over $400 from when I last looked. They're hovering, they've slowly been climbing. They may be more expensive than that now. And part of this is the playability aspect. Most of the money cards in Innistrad have been reprinted over time. A lot of the chase cards have actually kind of fallen off the radar as well. When Innistrad first came out, Snapcaster Mage was valuable, nowhere near as valuable as it was today. Some of your mythics that were playable, Liliana, Garruk, Geist of St. Traft, these were all cards that were valuable at the time, were popular at the time. The format was relatively popular, so these cards had a lot of value. But in the case of Liliana, we've seen multiple reprints of her. Geist of St. Traft, we've seen multiple reprints. He's been featured in a dual deck. He's been in a World Magic Cup promo. These cards, and realistically today, Geist of St. Traft, not all that playable in terms of an actual card. In addition to its multiple reprints, the card's really not worth that much anymore. So, and then this is shown, right? If you look at the EV, if you look at the EV of a set, pulling it up, if I actually sort Innistrad by price, let me see here. The most valuable cards are Liliana the Veil, Mythic Rare, Balefire Dragon, Mythic Rare, Parallel Lives, and Snapcaster Mage. Those are the only cards that are worth over $15. According to MTG Donglair, most of your cards are in the sub $5 range. Geist of St. Traft is a measly $2. Garruk Relentless is $2.84. You have some more interesting casual cards. You have your check lands, etc. Not really anything is that valuable, but when you look at a set, it's not about, or when you look at sealed product, it's not strictly about EV. If you're opening up a box of Innistrad and trying to make money, this is a losing prospect. We talked about this. People who are opening up Innistrad packs likely or are doing so because of how playable that draft format is. It's been heralded as being a very popular draft format, as a very good draft format, as a balanced draft format. A lot of people have fond memories of it. I have fond memories of drafting it. That's the majority of the people who are opening up Innistrad boxes are looking to do a draft. Over the years, I have customers that have looked at sealed product and want to buy sealed product for something special. I've sold sealed product to people who were having a bachelor party, a host for someone who was hosting a bachelor party for one of their friends, and their weekend was basically buying up draft product and doing drafts all weekend, and drinking and having a good time. And that was the idea of their bachelor party. They bought a lot of sealed product at one time. This isn't really an isolated incident. That seems like kind of a more bizarre thing, but there are a lot of people who do buy these boxes, some of these older boxes, and trying to relive these draft sets and having a good time with them. And that is really what's pushing the price up. And it's important to note that as time goes on, as more people do this, each box becomes increasingly more valuable, and it starts to push up the price on sealed product. As product gets opened over time, as boxes get damaged, that's something we'll look at, and people simply want to open up product. A lot of stores do buy old sealed product. It's something that they stock on the shelf. A lot of stores do value having an extensive sealed product library, mainly because whatever they buy a box at will use $360 as a nice round number. $360, 36 packs. Your cost is $10 a pack. If the box, depending on whatever the price range is, Some Modern Master sets are a little bit more expensive than that. They're pushing like $400, but a price, if your cost is $10 a pack, depending on how old it is, depending on how popular it is, you're probably charging $18 to $20 for that pack in your store. And again, you're unlikely to make money opening it, but a lot of people do buy packs. A lot of people like to chaos draft. Selling loose packs is pretty popular that way, as a way for people to throw together a large collection and have a chaos draft. A chaos draft is, instead of having a set number of packs, you have just a completely assorted packs from all eras. You have new packs, old packs, you have masters packs. It creates a really fun, wild drafting experience. That's a fairly popular format. That was something that when they host at Grand Prix as side events, they always did well. There's going to be demand from tournament organizers, from stores, to have these sealed products on their shelves. And a lot of store owners actually do go out and actively buy old product as a result. And whenever they open it, that's one sealed box that doesn't exist anymore in the world, and it drives the price of product up. It's slow, it's steady, depending on the size of print run. In more recent history, especially in the case of Magic, boxes haven't really been that popular. There was a certain golden age of Magic, as it were, or even a silver age, when product was much more rare, was much more desirable, and those boxes have seen a bigger jump. It's much more rarely apparent with Pokemon. A lot of those boxes have become very expensive in recent history. We'll kind of touch on that a little bit later in the video. But these boxes, there's a lot of upwards pressure on sealed product. Some of it's slow, some of it's steady, some of it does see a large spike. It's really hard to predict, but with some knowledge, with some background, when you look at price trends, you can kind of predict how boxes will do, what they look like, and what makes sense for you to invest. So back to our original talk, when we talked about EV, we looked at sets that had low EV, Kaladesh, Innistrad, right? These are sets low EV that have value because they're playable. You have sets that have high EV. Those boxes will naturally be expensive. A lot of those, it's more relevant for Pokemon. The EV on some of these cards, especially some of these vintage cards, this is something that we talked a little bit about with Charlie. I'll probably do a video up on Pokemon vintage prices in the coming days. These are things that people like. When you open up a card that is packed fresh, a lot of people open up vintage packs. You see this in Magic as well. A lot of people who are opening it up are likely to take a card when they open right away and send it in for grading. To have it graded is something that people want. We talked about graded cards yesterday. We talked about the appeal of graded cards. Usually there is a large price spike. Even your near mint card has a large premium, especially on vintage cards, over moderate play, light play cards. And then your near mint card, if you're to grade that and have that come back as a 9, a 9.5, 10, depending on what grading service you use, you're looking at a large premium on top of near mint prices. So that's another cornerstone. That's another reason why people open up old vintage packs. So packs that have high EV, when there's an especially large spread, then you're talking sealed product that becomes very, very expensive, often in the thousands of dollars. Even though the EV may be high, usually the value is usually concentrated towards the higher end. When you're looking at if you look at the Neo sets for Pokemon, a lot of the set value is driven by the presence of shining Pokemon. We touched on this briefly. I don't know if I have one handy. This is a graded copy. So Neo Destiny, this is 2002. This is a first edition. That's something that's a little bit different. Pokemon has done that before. That's not really something that they've done since. These shining cards, especially rare, kind of the precursor to mythic rares. These cards, particularly valuable. In nice condition, these drive up the value of the box quite a bit. These are kind of what people are hoping to open. If people open up product, Again, generally not advisable to do so, but for the people that do like to gamble, for people that do open up product, a lot of the cards, the very, very, very high-end cards are generally what drive the EV of the price. So boxes that have high EV, usually driven by a very, very small number of cards. Shining cards are just one example. In more conventional terms, when we look at Magic, mythic rares, because they're really the bottleneck in terms of cards that people need for decks, mythic rares are generally the ones that are most expensive and most sought after. The majority of the EV, even though you're not likely to see any particularly mythic rare in a box, the mythic rares really drive the EV of the box depending on how much they are. So those are different cases. Again, if you're looking to buy a box and you're wanting to open it, and you're concerned about the value, look at the EV before you buy. If the EV is centered around opening up a few lottery cards, Kaladesh opening up a masterpiece, may not be the best thing to open, because the most likely outcome is that you're going to open up a pretty poor pack. VIP, even though it does have high variance, the outcome of you opening up a below average box is fairly low. Opening up a $40 to $60 box, kind of an outlier. Realistically, most boxes I see that people are probably opening up boxes in the 100 to like 150, which puts them about break even, if not a little bit behind or a little bit ahead. If you're opening a product for the sake of opening a product because it's fun, I would look at those as kind of where you should be standing, as opposed to opening up one that requires a high level of variance for you to get extremely lucky in order for you to really come out ahead. So we talked about this a little bit. The demographic for people who are buying sealed product, you have a pretty wide spread. That's kind of the beauty of sealed product. We talked about this. There's a lot of casual players. Back when I did work in a game store, my experience selling booster packs, the vast majority of packs that are sold, especially newer packs at retail prices, is going to be the majority of the packs you sell. You will always have people that come in that are buying 1 to 2 packs. That's kind of their, or maybe even up to a box. These just of the newest product, this is kind of your go-to customer. This is the base of retail, right? They will always buy products. They'll always buy sealed product. They're fairly steady. Some people just open it because it's a small reward for them at the end of a week on Friday. These are people that buy the majority of the packs. They're not necessarily concerned about value. They're not looking at it in terms of investing. They're simply opening up products because it's cool, right? There's always an adrenaline rush. It's always exciting to open up a booster pack that you bought for $4.99 and you're opening up a mythic that's $20, for example. That's always cool. I would say that you're not human if you don't get some sort of excitement out of opening a pack. I don't do it much anymore, but it's cool when I have the opportunity to, mainly because I've opened up enough sealed product in my lifetime that I'm really good, to be honest. I don't need to open up anymore. If opportunity presents itself, I will. But rationally speaking, if you're opening up product, you're losing money. But retail, you need these customers. These people always like to open up sealed product. They'll open up a small amount, and they're a fairly steady stream of income. For people who are looking to sell packs, as I see a lot of people sell packs as their prizes or whatever. Again, you will always find people that are steady about buying packs. Do be careful who you buy packs from. That's something I'll go over a little bit more later in the video. But you want to be careful. You want to be buying packs from a reputable store. Just to make sure that you're able to protect yourself from getting scammed. This is important. There's a lot of people out there, mainly because collectibles have become worth so much money, that there are people that are trying to pull a fast one on you, and you want to make sure that you can protect yourself from being scammed from someone going out of their way to get you. So we have your regular consumer. You have people that are looking to invest. That's really the other end of the spectrum. Most people fall somewhere in between. Your investors, there are a lot of people that buy a product every set release and they put it away. Their rationale is that because sealed product goes up in price over time, that if they put this away for 5 years, 10 years or whatever, these packs will be worth money. I saw a fair amount of those in my experience working retail. Some people do like to buy sealed cases. It's a good way to know that your distribution inside will be random. If you're buying one box, you don't know what it looks like. It's very possible. One of the popular things I know that some stores, not going to name names, but stores that did sell boxes during the Masterpiece era for Battle for Zendikar, Oath of Gatewatch, Kaladesh, etc. There were stores that they would open up a case. They would, if they needed singles, they would open until they opened up a singles, until they opened up a masterpiece inside the box. If they opened up 2 masterpieces, then they would sell the remaining boxes. So let's say inside a case there's 6 boxes, boxes number 1 through 6. Some of the scummier stores, as it were, if they opened up a masterpiece in box 1, some stores may stop right there and then just sell the other 5 boxes because they know, in theory, that there will only one of those 5 boxes will have another masterpiece. So they took their first box, they got the masterpiece out of that, and then they're done. And then they would sell the other 5 boxes on the shelf. Instead of having a 33% chance, in theory, of opening a masterpiece, only 5 boxes of those boxes will have a masterpiece. You're down to a 20% chance of buying a box that has a masterpiece in it. Not going to name names. Again, a lot of this is hearsay, but there are reports of people doing this, of stores doing this. So a lot of people do place a higher value on sealed cases. They usually have a small premium, often, depending on what case you're buying. One case is often going to be more than the value of 6 loose boxes. If a box is $100, you might be looking at $650 for a case, a small premium over, one case times 6 boxes, 100 times 6, $600. That's what you should be expecting. If you were to buy 6 boxes, if you were to buy a sealed case, you may pay a small premium on top. This doesn't apply towards the beginning when it says new. Usually there is a discount for buying a case, but as sets get older, trying to find a sealed case, you will expect to pay a premium. In the case of Kaladesh, for example, do expect to pay a premium on sealed cases, mainly because you do have that insurance, you do have that guarantee that if it has not been tampered with, then you are likely to open, if you do open in the future, that there will be 2 masterpieces inside, give or take. I have seen cases that only have had 1 masterpiece. I've seen cases that have had 3 masterpieces. The vast majority of cases do contain 2 masterpieces. And then you really have the high-end investors. These are people that are looking to buy very expensive boxes to stock them away. In our interview with Charlie last week, we talked about the Heritage auction for the first edition base set booster box. It sold for $198,000. That's really towards the higher end. The most likely outcome is a buyer that is that has nostalgia, reliving their childhood. They obviously have a lot of liquid assets, and this is something that, in theory, if they're buying, they're unlikely to be opening it. It's possible they open it. We'll talk about the people who do open it in a moment. Likely, it's an investment piece. That's something that will only continue to go up in the future. Finding a first edition booster box that is untampered with, that's not resealed, that's in good condition, is exceedingly rare. They're only going to get more rare as time goes on. These first edition booster boxes, really the holy grail of Pokemon collecting. So the price is really there. Very, very difficult to make up $200,000 inside a booster box. Inside a base set booster box, you'll have 12 heavy packs, 24 light packs. Your 12 heavy packs will contain foils. Your 24 light packs will not. You will likely have to get one of the top 3, a Blastoise, Venusaur, Charizard, grade it, have it grade well, in order for you to come anywhere close to making it up in terms of value of the box itself. That's another case where the EV, even though it's very high, is unlikely to make up for the cost of the box. That's, again, not the reason why high-end investors buy these things. They're likely to buy it because they know the scarcity. There's good provenance. If they're buying something like this, and the buyer were to sell this in the future, they can say it came from Heritage Auction. It's a credible source. It's a box that's unlikely to be tampered with, and they'll be able to have that provenance, that background. So when they choose to sell it, it will likely be worth more in the future. The seller has the confidence that this buyer, they bought it from a reputable source. They're not likely to get scammed or have any issues with the box when they buy it. The last category, this is a bit more specific to Pokemon, are people who buy product to open up on YouTube. I'm not going to use any specific names. There's a lot of them out there. If you just type in Pokemon pack opening, you'll see no shortage of YouTubers that do go out of their way to buy these boxes. Usually it's tied into their income stream. More viewers, more subscribers generates more ads, which generates more revenue, which incentivizes them to get more viewers. They get more viewers by opening up more product, more expensive product, right? No one really cares if you're buying product of the most recent set. Realistically, they can do that themselves. It's going to be much more rare for someone to be able to find someone who's opening up a base pack, base set booster pack, for example. They're going to be much harder to find. That video going to be more exciting. It's going to incentivize more viewers to watch the video, which in turn generates more subscribers for that viewer. For that YouTuber, which in turn incentivizes them to be spending more money on sealed products so they can open up on their video. This is also an experience I've had. I've had content creators reach out to me saying, "Hey, I need some sealed product for my videos. What do you have that you can sell me that I can open up on my channel?" It sounds really bizarre. It's not something you'll see super often, but when you have a name for yourself, when you establish yourself as someone that deals in expensive boxes, high-end sealed product, then these content creators, they will know to seek you out, and then they will come to you for these boxes. And again, this kind of goes back to what we said earlier about these boxes becoming more expensive. In more recent history, especially with COVID, we really start to see this take off. We have this positive feedback loop of YouTuber wants to open up sealed product, they buy sealed product, they open it, and then that box becomes more expensive. It encourages more people to want to see that box being opened. So you might see other people that are drawn to that box. They may want to buy the box for themselves, thinking that maybe they can get lucky with the box. They would just want to have the box. Someone, depending on the age of the box, depending on the price of the box, someone might see the video and think, "Oh wow, that's cool. I haven't seen that box before. I might go out and buy it." If people have the income to do so, they may go out and be buying these boxes, which in turn increases the value of the box. There's more visibility. People might be looking at thinking that, hey, this box has been trending up. This may be a good investment. Maybe I should buy this box now before I can't buy anymore, before it gets out of my price range. Right? So you can see where this is going, that positive feedback loop where, again, this starts with a YouTuber who's wanting to buy sealed product for their content channel. They open it. That's one less box in circulation, right? It's unlikely that any one particular seller is going to have a lot of these boxes sitting around, right? Like you're not going to go, it's unlikely for you to go into any one store and be able to say, "Hey, I want to buy a sealed case of Innistrad. Do you have one available?" Right? That's not something that's likely to happen. You're more likely to see stores that will have loose packs of Innistrad, and then it's possible they may have a sealed box of Innistrad if that's something that they've held onto, but finding a sealed case of Innistrad is going to be pretty difficult, right? This extends to Pokemon as well. In the context of age is really one of those really interesting scales that we use when we, excuse my phone here. One of the really interesting things we talk about in the context of collecting, right? It's really hard to put things in perspective. Kaladesh, 4 years old. It doesn't really seem that old, but it may be a lifetime ago for some people in terms of how long ago for their hobby, right? If you're talking about an arena player who just started in 2018, right? Kaladesh has already been around for twice as long as they've been playing. And that's assuming they played arena since the beginning. Innistrad 9 years ago, right? 2011. In 2011, I was 22. I was a kid back then, right? Like I was still in college. I was like towards finishing up college, beginning my adult life, right? It was a very different era. 2011. That was the beginning of modern. That was when modern was first introduced, right? Like that's a pretty long time ago in terms of context of the hobby, right? You go even longer beyond that, right? When you're looking at something like the first Zendikar coming out in 2007, right? That's 13 years ago, right? Like 13 years ago, I had just graduated high school. I was 18 at the time, right? That's really putting age and some of these things into scale, into perspective about how old some of these things are. And when you're talking about sealed product, when you're talking about something that has been around for that long and keeping in pristine condition, it really drives the price on these boxes. It drives scarcity. These boxes are rare. When people start opening them, they become more rare, right? Which in turn drives their price. That's really how the feedback loop works. That's kind of the cornerstone of the market. That's the cornerstone of the sealed market. That's really why some of these things have become as desirable as they have, because finding, you're finding trinity of old product, of sealed product at the right price, not really that easy to do. So if there's something you're looking to do, this is the advice I would give. When you're buying sealed product, buy from someone reputable. As I mentioned with the Keldesh instance, with Masterpiece instance, there are some stores a little more scummy. They may not care about the customer experience. They may not be concerned about, their reputation may not be as important to them. We see a fair amount of this with, especially in the pandemic right now. There's a lot of stores that are doing whatever it takes to be able to stay afloat. A lot of stores are having financial trouble. I'm not saying all stores do this. It's very likely that your local game store is run by reputable people, about people that care about the business, that care about the industry. They're not likely to pull a fast one on you. Most successful stores don't do this at all. It's not worth their reputation. If it got out there that some of these stores sold weighed packs, or they mapped their boxes or whatever, it's going to do way more damage to their reputation than just selling the boxes and letting people open up whatever they can out of their boxes. So you want to be buying from reputable sources. If you're looking at something that's vintage, especially if you're talking about boxes that are in the thousands of dollars, make sure there's good provenance on it, right? If like the very high end, in the case of the first edition base set booster box, there's good provenance on it. I would trust Heritage Auction to do their due diligence and know that they're selling a legitimate box to the consumer. Heritage Auction, they do have an army of consultants that consult all the full range of product that they sell: fine art, wine, old vintage comics, collectibles like booster boxes, watches, coins, memorabilia. They have consultants. I would trust that Heritage is selling a legitimate product. They probably had their consultant that did research on a product and made sure that the product was legitimate before it was sold. Whenever that person chooses to sell, again, they have the provenance. Hey, I bought this from Heritage Auctions September 2020. In 10 years, right? They can trace it back whenever they choose to sell it, and the buyer should have the confidence that Heritage Auction, legitimate source, they should be trusted. I can buy this box with confidence. Most stores, same boat. Most stores are not out to get you. Honestly, the stores are scummy, that would pull this one. You would be able to probably see warning signs that they're the type of store to pull this. Again, I'm not going to name names. Do your research, do your diligence. Buying loose packs on eBay from some person with low feedback, probably not advisable. If the deal sounds too good to be true, it probably is, right? That's the age-old mantra that people talk about, but you'll always hear people get scammed. People think that they got a good deal on Craigslist, people got a good deal on eBay, and then they find out that they bought something that was resealed, that's not legitimate. It gets rough. So do your research, buy from a reputable source. Will you be paying a little bit more? Yes. That little bit more that you're paying, think of it as an insurance policy. Think of it as you're paying a premium to know that you're getting a legitimate product and you're not likely to get scammed. And that's worth the premium, that's worth trying to find a reputable store that you should be buying from. Moving on, storing sealed product. This is something that I get asked as well. How can you store sealed product? How do you keep your investment safe? I have some product around here that's laying around. So this was a box I bought online. This is a Primal Clash XY box. Not terribly expensive. I bought this. I think it's a reasonable investment. It was not sent particularly well by the seller. I was a little bit miffed about that. It was sent in a box that was loose. It got thrown around, obviously, because UPS does wonders to packages. It wasn't insured at the time. Not really worth going after either the seller or UPS. Primal Clash boxes have gone up. You can see right here on the edge of the box, there is damage. Because this box was loose, the edge is slightly crushed here. Not that big a deal. The box is still sealed. So one of the things that when you're buying boxes that you want to look out for is Pokemon has this, Wizards of the Coast has this for Magic, is that you should be able to see a logo imprinted on the box. I'm gonna make sure that this will show up properly on the video here. There's a bit of delay on my stream, so trying to watch on my end is a little bit behind. This is watermark. There is a watermark for Pokemon on here. Yep, you should be able to see it. The watermark indicates that this is an authentic product that is sold by the Pokemon Company International. It's all the way around. This watermark is on all sides of the box. First indicator is if the box is resealed. Someone pulled the shrink wrap off, tampered with the boxes, tampered with the packs, and then resealed the box. First sign, there's no watermark. Very, very easy to see. I'll have a magic box here as well that you can see. Nothing too exciting. Box of Japanese Ikoria. Watermark all the way around on with the Wizards of the Coast logo. This box is good. One of the things that you do want to be aware of, and this kind of comes with storing booster boxes, is that over time the plastic does become loose. You can see here on the Ikoria box, new box. This has only been out for a few months. The plastic, the shrink wrap is very tight around the edges. Usually when you see boxes, it's tight. As boxes do age, they do tend to get looser. That's kind of the nature of how shrink wrapping works. If you look at this plastic on this Pokemon Primal Clash box, the plastic is a little bit loose. I'm not too worried about this being tampered. I did buy it from a reputable source. So I trust they have no reason to do anything with the box. But the plastic, just the way it's stored, depending on where you are, depending on how humid it is, depending on if you're storing in a cool space, that's something that most people recommend. I'll talk a bit more about storing sealed product in a moment. The plastic will naturally get loose. Again, not an indicator of whether a box is real or fake, but this is something you do want to be careful of. People that are resealing boxes, you tend to have a much looser shrink wrap. That's something you can look for. That's another sign that it's possible that may have been tampered with. If the packing is really loose, it's possible that I have seen people take the shrink wrap from a box and reseal around another box and find a way to seal the seam so it looks like it's sealed, but it is a reused outer wrapping on another box that has been tampered with, and you'll tend to see signs of a loose plastic around it. Something to be aware of, something to be careful of when you're buying loose packs. In some cases, in the case of Magic, you do have people that search packs in the old packs before they had the foil inside that made them not see-through. You could actually push cards up. If you push cards up, you press down, you can see that the pack was searched. You can actually see what your rare was and then determine whether or not you want to open up packs. It comes down to a matter of getting good provenance at that point. We talked about this. If you want to protect yourself, buy from a reputable source. I would argue if a large retailer in the industry, Troll and Toad, Star City, Card Kingdom or what have you, if they have a pack and they say it wasn't searched, I would trust them that it's not searched. There's a lot of people that do pack openings, that people will sell packs out of the box. They'll often stream this. It'll be on Twitch, YouTube, or whatever. People will do this and they'll sell the packs out of the sealed box. I would obviously trust that, assuming they got the box from a good source. So when you're buying product, again, do your research, do your diligence, make sure you're protecting yourself. Look for signs, for packs being searched, for boxes being resealed. This is something that's happened before. It's well documented. People know what signs there are for fake boxes. And when you're buying boxes, if you're storing it, do keep it safe, right? One of the things is that, like I mentioned, it's likely that this box was stored somewhere where it was probably not temperature controlled, right? Your standard warehouses, most stores that own them, their warehouses, their storage, not temperatures controlled. You'll probably have some highs and lows, right? It'll be warmer during summer, colder during the winter. That is one of the factors that causes the plastic to warp like this. So my advice for people who do have expensive product is there are companies out there that manufacture hard acrylic cases, Graded Power. My friend Jim Brusso, their company does sell these boxes, these acrylic cases. I recommend checking them out on Graded Power. If you pull down the left side tab, there's Magic supplies and Pokemon supplies. Those are two primary games they deal with. You can find boxes that will fit all eras of Magic, of Pokemon, right? Product has changed, right? You have some various boxes, right? I have a Conspiracy 2 booster box here. This is obviously much larger than your standard Magic booster box. They do have them in different sizes. Pokemon boxes have changed over the years. When Wizards of the Coast was making them, they were kind of it looked more in line like this, kind of a bigger profile. And now Pokemon boxes are a little bit more narrow, because there are fewer packs inside the box. So the acrylic cases, they do get a little bit expensive. You want to make sure that whatever box you're trying to protect, if you do want to protect the box, it's worthwhile. Usually the acrylic cases, the nature of them, more geared towards higher end boxes in the hundreds of, or if not thousands of dollars. Probably not worth protecting, going out and protecting your Ikoria booster box. Financially, that doesn't make sense. For the boxes that people do want to keep, if you're not looking at acrylic cases, you have too many boxes, or you just don't want to be storing them that way. I've seen a fair amount of people store them inside Tupperware, right? Large Tupperware boxes that have a snap-on lid. You can close it, store it somewhere cool that's not in direct sunlight over and over. Direct sunlight will cause the boxes to fade over time. You can see this in some stores where if they have a storefront that is facing outwards, the sealed product is facing outwards towards the windows, you can see that product will become discolored over time. Hopefully, most stores will be able to turn through product before that happens. But for stores that sell older packs that have some of the packs that stay on the shelf longer, it is something to be aware of. Humidity and sunlight are naturally the enemy of collectibles. Tupperware is a good, cheap alternative. It stacks well. You can store a lot of it, right? You can stack it up, put it inside a storage closet or something, right? In theory, it should be immune to humidity and moisture. If moisture is a concern, if humidity is a concern, one thing I can recommend are these silica gel desiccant packs. I have a pack right here. This is something I use to protect some of these. I put these inside boxes of cards, actually. This prevents humidity. This prevents warping. These packs are particularly cool. You can buy these. I bought these on Amazon. This is something I recommend for a lot of retailers out there who may be listening. If you do have a humidity problem, put these inside your boxes. The cool thing about these is these are actually reusable. It's kind of hard to tell. Put it close to the camera here. You can actually bake these packs. When they absorb moisture, you can actually bake them. It'll get rid of the moisture inside them, and you can actually reuse the packs, unlike the disposable gel packs that you see people use. So I put these inside boxes that have like my TCG inventory of loose cards, anything that's going to be in storage. Toss one of these in there, and then every few months you'll just have to rotate it. You'll check the color. If it says that, you know, it's absorbed moisture, you probably want to bake it, and then it'll be good as new. Worth putting inside your sealed product. If you have one of these, if you have boxes inside Tupperware, I'll toss one or two of these inside. It'll absorb the moisture for however long, rotate it, and you'll be fine. For the most part, that's kind of an introductory guide to sealed product. We did cover a lot. There are some more things you can do. Again, I cannot hammer it home enough. If you're looking to invest, if you're looking to buy, especially if you're looking to buy high-end, expensive sealed product, you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence. You want to do your research. Buy from reputable sources. I say this over and over again on this channel. I cannot stress this enough. A lot of people, malicious or not, are going to offer a subpar product. That's why I shy away from dealing on social media. The people that can be trusted, that are reputable, they will often stand out in the community. You want to be paying or buying through them. Again, a lot of these places or people may charge a premium. Simply think of it as insurance policy. If you're spending that much money to get something that is vintage, that is expensive, it's going to be worth your time and money to spend a little bit more to protect yourself, make sure that you don't have an issue with tampering or damage to the box, etc. I keep saying this, but I keep hearing horror stories of people buying resealed boxes, of weighed boxes, of search packs. We didn't talk about weighing. That's kind of a different thing. I'll probably save that for a Pokemon video because that's most prevalent inside Pokemon, not as prevalent inside Magic. So we'll talk about that later. But this was, again, kind of introduction. Most of these videos, they're fairly long. There's a lot to talk about. I could go on and keep talking about sealed product. It's something that we'll, again, explore more in a future video. But this is, again, just kind of an introduction for people who are looking to invest in boxes, what you can do to protect yourself, storing boxes. That's really why I want to focus on today, understanding EV, right? These are basic things for people who are looking to invest, to who want to buy boxes, who want to put boxes away, of how they can do so, and how to properly store it. Those are probably the two questions I get asked the most regarding sealed product. But again, stay tuned. Future video, we'll revisit sealed product again, talk more about sealed product, how it performs in the market, what the market for sealed product looks like. All that is to come in a future video. That being said, I'm Edwin. You guys can find me on Twitter at edwin13. You can find the social media platforms for Vermilion PDX on the right. On behalf of Vermilion PDX, thank you for listening as always. Appreciate my listeners out there. Wherever you are in the world, stay safe, and we will be back tomorrow with more.